All right, welcome back to the Big Give. We are so excited today to have Yijoung with us, and she's going to share a little bit about their Duke 15 journey. And they've done something a little unique this year to extend their reach for our community, and we'll talk about that too. So, welcome, Yijoung. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Carol.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, tell us a little bit about your journey with your son, and just talk about your diagnostic journey.
Okay, I have a son, Lucas. He's 10 years old and he has Dup15q, the IDIC type. And he was diagnosed at about 18 months of age. We went in because he wasn't meeting certain milestones. He had very low tone. He wasn't speaking. And I actually noticed something kind of suspicious at 4 months, but I just kind
Hmm.
of passed it off, like maybe it's a personality thing. But
What
then,
was that, G? Do you mind sharing? What was that? Was there something you can share?
yeah, I would like try to coo, play with him, and he wasn't making eye contact. So it seemed like he was registering what I was saying because he was smiling, but
Mm.
he wasn't really making the eye contact that I really wanted from him. And, there was a lot of autism awareness, and they were saying that one of the key symptoms of autism is not making the eye contact. So I was just in the back of my mind thinking, could this be autism? But I just kind of brushed aside because, he was eating well, otherwise very healthy.
Right.
But then at 18 months, we went for a checkup, and I had let our pediatrician know what I was seeing, and he recommended us to a pediatric neurologist who ordered a genetic test.
Yeah.
And the genetics test came back that he had the IDIC 15 type of the Dup15q syndrome.
Wow.
That's how our journey started.
And he's 10, almost 11, I think. Doesn't he have a birthday soon?
He does. His birthday is on May 19th,
Yeah.
Thursday. So he'll
Oh,
be
really
11.
soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when people watch this, because this is a pre-recorded one, he'll already have his 11th birthday. So how
Yes.
fantastic. What's the journey been like for you guys, and what have you learned from this journey in any capacity about yourself, about him? Talk about that, your journey.
Oh, I mean, I've learned so much. It can be like hours and hours of talking on that. But I've learned that I'm stronger than
Mm,
thought I was, and I really didn't think I can handle something like this. But it's already been 10 years, and we're really doing well. And we've had a lot of difficult moments, especially when he was having seizures. That was a very scary thing for us. But he's otherwise been really very mellow,
mm.
very easygoing. He doesn't even ask for anything. So you could even forget that he's in the room sometimes because he's just off on his own. He gets
Wow.
fixated and obsessed with certain things like beads and things that spin around.
Hmm.
So compared to my other typical child who's 5, I would have to say he's much easier because, my mother-in-law would be like, well, it must be so hard raising Lucas. I say, no, he's easier than the other one who's typical.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. What kind of things
So
does he do now as far as you said he went through seizures, and is he seizure free now?
he still has seizures. So we're not 100% out of seizures, but they have been dramatically reduced
Oh, wonderful.
from when about 2, 3 years ago, when he was having the most seizures. He was having about 6 to 7 uh, average seizures a day, every day, and they were really bad types. And we really worried, oh gosh, what's going to happen? Because I was on the Do15Q Alliance parent support group, and I was seeing a lot of parents reporting that their children were dying from SUDEP.
Yeah.
It was like, I
Yeah.
think there was one year when there were like 5 deaths. And so that was really scary.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, if you're going to make it to double digits. I want to do something for you special.
Oh,
So he turned 10, and that's when I said, okay, well, I said I was going to do something special. So I thought about that scholarship. I thought, okay, we're going to start a scholarship for you. So that's how the whole scholarship journey started.
I
Yeah.
love that. And tell people who may not have seen the Lucas Ahn Scholarship, tell them what you wanted to fund specifically.
Well, I really wanted to fund basic research for Duke 15q syndrome, and it was open to seniors, maybe juniors, or even first year grad students who are interested in doing basic research for Duke 15q syndrome. So we had a scholarship awardee, Julia Godinez, out of UC Davis, and she's a senior who works for Dr. Lascelles um, research lab, doing research on UBE
Mm-hmm.
gene
Yep.
within the region that we're looking at for Duke 15q. So it's been great. Yeah, it was supposed to be a one-time scholarship, but it was such a great feeling to have
Yeah.
somebody interested in doing the research and to be able to help them. We're like, well, maybe we could do this again.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, it's so interesting because we actually expect to hear from her next week on the final of when, because since school's wrapping up for her. I think it's so interesting too, because when we posted the scholarship opportunity, it was pretty quickly that we got someone who was interested. And actually, we've had a couple of people ask since then, and we're like, it's actually closed for right now because it's already been filled for this semester. But I say that because I want to give hope to the parents. A lot of people, and just this morning, I had a message from someone and they said, how can we offer more hope to the parents? We read a lot about SUDEP, hear a lot about just the day to day life, and it's hard. And so I love your story because I think too, it gives people hope who maybe they have that 18-month-old who's diagnosed and they go, what is this going to look like for our life? Um, I love that you're like, he's almost easier than my neurotypical child. I do know that because this is pre-recorded, we're going to get questions about this. Do you mind sharing a little bit about how you got his seizures under control? And I want to caveat this that we are not, as an organization, offering medical advice, but this is your journey, and he may have other things going on that his medication could look different. But I do know a lot of parents like to hear, like, how did you get his seizures under control?
Okay, yes. So one of the reasons that I'm so pro research is because it has helped our journey so much. Going back to when we started having seizures, the neurologists, they put us on Keppra, which didn't really work for him, but I guess that's just a standard method they just shoot out to all people with seizures in the
Right.
beginning. And but it really didn't work for us, and I kind of kept him on it for longer than I should have, I think. So I went to the research papers, and I went to my neurologist and I offered him this paper that had a a table. It was basically like a survey of all the seizure meds that were tried on people with Do15Q syndrome and what was effective. And I said, look at this paper. There's a list of like 10 meds. Look at the effectiveness of certain ones. And I emailed this to him before our neuro appointment. And then I go in there and, he takes you a little more seriously. He says, well, okay, I mean, this is not a mom who just went on Google and researched seizure meds
Good
and
for
came up with
you.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
So the top two that had the most effectiveness, and I know it's different for all people with
Yeah.
Do15Q syndrome, but luckily for us, the top two, which was Banzel and Lamictal, really just kind of took away all the seizures in the beginning. It was like night and day. So I was like, wow, that's so impressive. And then the
Oh,
seizures always start coming back. And then there was the Epidiolex research that was done, and then it got FDA approved. And luckily, our provider, it was offered through our insurance. So we're like, well, let's try this. So we added that on, and it was just like no more seizures, maybe one
wow.
or two in the nighttime. And usually his seizures are triggered by waking up or going to sleep for
Yeah.
something like that. So I thought, wow, this is awesome. And it's this research has helped us so much. And it just kind of empowers you when you go see the
Mm.
doctor. Like, this I know a lot about this, and they listen to you. So that was such a wonderful thing to have. And
Yeah.
then, and then there were other research like Dr. Jesty, when she was at UCLA, we were involved in the clinical trial, and they had probes in his head, sort of like a EKG. And he watched a video of like Sesame Street, and you can see his eyes are tracking the characters, because sometimes he's nonverbal, so you just really don't know what's going on in him. What is he thinking? How does he
Right.
see the world? And I wish I could go inside his head and just look through his eyes. And that research kind of made me do that. I can see what he's looking at. And it was so reassuring to know that he was making eye contact with these characters. He wasn't just looking off everywhere. So
Wow.
yeah, so that was just those are two of the research that really, really, helped me understand him a little bit better, and helped with his quality of life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, good for you, because I think it's so interesting. One thing I have found in this community is that the parents are a force to be reckoned with. Like, I can imagine some of the neurologists are probably like, who's training these moms and dads? Because I love that you went with that information and that knowledge and they took it more serious and they said, okay, this is somebody who's gonna, make sure that we're doing exactly what we need to do and like you said, take it serious. I know that we're going to have people ask how you got into a clinical trial. And I want to caveat that by saying one thing we're doing with the Big Give is putting our money back into our ladder learning network, from our ladder database to our clinics, to funding, trying to get the right information in the right hands to our families and into our families' hands. Talk about how you got into a clinical trial, because I know parents are going to be thinking, how did she find out about that?
Right. So, it was advertised in the Do 15Q Alliance site. I encourage parents to go into their site every so often, because they do
Yeah.
have advertisements for clinical trials. At one point, though, I was just kind of obsessed with clinical trials. I would go to the clinicaltrials.gov. I would
Yes.
see what other clinical trials are happening. But that is a good starting point for parents to just go in there once in a while. And I think there's a tab on the website. They do advertise. So yeah, I highly encourage it, because you can learn a lot trials.
I love
Yeah.
that. And the clinicaltrials.gov, you're not alone in the sense that that's one of the tabs. I kind of have my routine every morning. And it's one of the ones even I check, because
I
there
think
can
I lost
always
you.
be things happening. Uh-oh, can you hear me?
Oh,
We'll give it 1 second and get
are you
our,
there?
yes, can you hear me? Here, I'll chat, put chat. Real world
Other,
zooming.
oh, there
Oh,
you
there
are.
you are.
Okay.
I think you're back. Good. Perfect. So I think I'm not sure if you call it this part, but that's something I do all the time too, is constantly go into the European trials and into clinicaltrial.gov. And we get some frustration from parents and they'll say, did you know about this? And it's tough because there are things that we cannot share until it goes public as well. So we're always trying to think of ways to kind of put our preclinical trial information out there. We're trying to get permission from different pharmaceutical companies about what we can and can't share. But that is such a great place to start, because also there could be things going on that we've not even heard about. So most of the time we're in the know because they want our data. They want to find out what they can get from our ladder database. Um, I just want to encourage people watching that this is why our ladder database is so important and getting people enrolled, because the more information we have in there, the more when pharma comes to us, we can say, we have X amount of participants data that we can give you. And obviously it's de-identified, but that way they're more excited about saying, hey, we're already starting with X amount of data points. So it is so important that we get the numbers. Also, I just want to encourage people watching that if you're in another Duke 15 Facebook page or any other type of support group, encourage people on that to enroll with the Alliance. You all know it's free. The only reason that's so important is because we need real numbers of the diagnosis. How many are really diagnosed um, with this disorder? Because that also helps us make our case for more therapeutic. So it's so important. And I think anytime, like you've kind of taken it, Ji-Young, you've taken it upon yourself to say, I'm going to do research. And I find that parents all have their niche. Some say, I got to get the word out. Some say, I've got to raise money. Some say, I've got to do research. And there's a place for everybody in this advocacy globe, if you will. So I appreciate so much, and I appreciate that you have helped fund research to help us get to that next level too. So what a fantastic idea. Is there anything else you want to share? Maybe what has the Alliance meant for you in your journey?
Oh, Alliance has been crucial to my sanity. It's if I have questions, I just go to the website. It's answers so many questions for me, and the fact that it's there and I could do something like this. If I were on my own and there was no Alliance, how would I don't think I would know where to start with a scholarship to help with research. And that was one of the things with the research. I mean, like my dreams are so much bigger than the size of my pocket or my wallet. But if I could fund like 10 scholarships every year, by 10-year time, we'll have 100 scholarship
Yeah,
recipients. That's 100 people, clinicians, researchers out there who are aware of the syndrome. And even maybe they won't be interested along the line, oh, I don't want to do research. I want to get into finance. That's great. I mean, we have somebody in the finance world who has a lot of knowledge of Do15Q syndrome, and maybe they'll
absolutely.
help, special needs families. So nothing would be
Absolutely.
lost by funding, young students, get them early before they decide to specialize in like cardiology or something. Say, hey, do 15Q
I know.
syndrome research. So
I agree. One thing I have said since I started is that I have a little concern about the next generation of doctors because, man, we hear some of the same six doctors constantly that we're and researchers that we're pulling on, and we need to raise up that next generation of people interested in this syndrome. And so I love that. And if people watch and say, I want to make a scholarship, how do I do this? Just reach out to us. We can help you set that up. Now, the
yeah,
Alliance does fund some what we call discovery grants every year that are based on how much money we raise that year that we can give to that. But I love what you did that made it so ideal was you came to us and you said, here's how much I have. Here's what I want to support. Help me find the person. And it was so easy because you already had exactly what you wanted to fund. And so if there's others watching who are like, hey, I want to fund something, what can I do? Just reach out to me and we'll figure out a way to utilize resources you have. It could be that we have a few parents come together and pool their money and say, we want to do X amount and this is what we want to offer this year. And how fun would that kind of be to say we're as a team, a family of five or our five families want to come together and fund something in particular. So we're super open to ideas like that. But
yeah.
we
And
just thank you. Yeah.
yeah, and I actually spoke with another, well, not spoke, through Facebook. Another D15Q parent who had suggested like an endowment. I mean, I'm not like an endowment kind of person with that kind of
Right.
money, but
Absolutely.
she had mentioned some ideas about, a self-funding endowment, maybe an endowment that can be maintained by the Do15Q Alliance that gives scholarships every year, and it's self-funding. I mean, it's like every year there's free money for scholarships.
Yeah, I
And that's such
love
a great
that.
idea, and that's something we can look into as well.
I think
Yeah.
that's a great idea. I think that's a great plan we should consider for our future of how to keep that money coming in and
Uh,
going back out. So wonderful. Well, Ji Young, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your story and not just sitting on your story, but saying we're gonna make change for the next generation and for Lucas. So thank you so much. And for those watching, we'll be back shortly with more on the big give. So thank you.
okay, thank you for having me.
Thank you.